Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to TinyBlueGames. My name, of course, is Seesaw or Chris, and today we're playing Maplestory in 2019. This is episode 3. If you've missed the other 2 episodes, I'm sure they're in the links below or the playlist to the side. You know, they're somewhere. And realistically, you probably don't need to see the other videos if you don't want to. I mean, you can kind of guess they're just me playing the levels before this, creating my character, yada yada yada. But if you are a completionist, and there are no achievements here, but if you want to complete it for yourself, I would be grateful to have you do it. If not, stick around. This is a playthrough of Maplestory from someone who used to play a lot of Maplestory back in pre-Big Bang, and it's really just discussing some of the differences with current Maplestory and that older version of Maplestory that I grew up with. So if that sounds cool to you, stick around, toss us a like, toss us a subscribe. We make videos on, and by we, I mean it's only me, so I don't know why I'm saying we. It makes me sound more professional, I guess. I make videos in my room about MMORPGs, so, you know, come join us if you'd like. But yeah, this is the job advancement. It is different than it used to be, I believe. For instance, I don't think it was these little rock creatures. And I'm having troubles remembering this, but I believe the assassin one was against crocodiles, the gator monsters. It was a similar map, but it was definitely the crocodiles. And I would assume the reason they've done this is because the crocodiles are probably a larger or a higher level now than they used to be. Because I think every class would go against sort of the level 30-ish monster that they would face. So for instance, warriors, I remember for sure went against monkeys, or lupins as they were called, and boars. Magicians would go against evil eyes, or cursed eyes, the green ones. And archers would go against, I want to say blue mushrooms, but I'm actually not sure. I didn't make a lot of archers back then. So if you know what they used to go against, put that in the comments below. And then pirates, I actually don't know either. I didn't play a lot of archers and pirates for some reason. I was all about the thieves and the warriors and the magicians. So there you go. That's where my knowledge is focused on. Hopefully other people can help fill that out. But yeah, so I get my job advancement. It was super quick. I didn't really have to worry about it too much. Once I was done, they sort of presented me with like a little skill guide where they showed me like how some of the classes or skills worked, which was cool because the assassin actually did change a fair bit since I played it. Like a lot actually. Assassins used to be a class where you could really only do single target damage. You would eventually get this skill called I think it's Avengers Star or something like that. It was a sort of really big throwing star, and it would hit multiple enemies, and you'd get that at level 70. When you used it with Shadow Partner, it would kind of do 2 hits, and it would be a straight line, and that would be pretty much all the AoE you get for a long time. And that was Assassins. Assassins were not good at AoE damage. They were really, really good at single target damage, and that's kind of how the balance was done. But they were not the AoE monsters. And today, doing my job advancement, I was pleased to discover that they are kind of AoE monsters. Well, I'm pleased / disappointed. I mean, any kind of change, I think, has been kind of disappointing. Not that it's all bad change. I think, you know, assassins were kind of hurt by the fact that they didn't have the mass AoE that they do now. But in the same token, I think because so many classes, or pretty much all the classes, have AoE abilities, everyone's training in the same places. Whereas back in the day, each class would kind of have its own really good map. Well, not each class, but each type. Like there'd be a single target kind of training route that you'd go through. There would be a mass AoE training route you'd go through. And then some specific ones for, say, priests, for fire poison mages, because they could go and poison things early on. Where else? I think there's other ones, but I'm not entirely sure. And I guess like bowmen and stuff like that. But so for assassins, you would go very much single target, and you would go like voodoos slash hoodoos was where you'd be for a really long time between the sort of 50 and 70 area, and you'd just be grinding those out. Eventually you could go snipe some higher level monsters, and Bowman did that as well. And they just sort of stuck away from the AoE mobs, which playing through this time, the amount of AoE you get is insane. So you get a sort of skill that'll push monsters to the side. You get a skill that will blow up monsters, and then you also get a skill, and the really cool one I think is the one that sort of marks a enemy, and you can then do damage to enemies around it when you hit it. So I think that's probably the coolest skill, and certainly the one that I think fits very well with the assassin, because it also plays to single target damage, where if there's only the one monster, the stars will sort of swing out and then hit the monster again. And I think that's super cool. So we do, in fact, try out a themed dungeon to level up. Themed dungeons were definitely not a thing when I used to play, and we won't talk about them too much in this episode, as I don't really fully do I think it's like Elenil Academy. Oh, it's Elenil Fairy Academy. I don't complete this one. I do some of the quests, and then I can't find a textbook, and I just end up grinding my way to 40. In the next video, and yes, I'm already starting work on the next Maple video, so don't worry. There is one in the works. In that video, I go to the Gold Beach or something like that, and I finished that entire quest chain to completion. So we'll do a lot more discussion about themed dungeons in that. But I did try out the same dungeon as it was recommended, and just ended up grinding once I found out how good assassins are at grinding now. And I'm sure they're still not even that great compared to other classes, but comparatively to how the class used to be at lower levels, it was pretty difficult to grind it out for big AoE groups. I mean, they were still very good at sort of jumping over targets, and that's what you'd have to do, because you would punch people when you got too close to them. So you really had to make sure you were able to have enough haste to jump over an enemy and throw your stars into the next one, and you'd kind of do a jump over and do a back and forth sort of rotation. And specifically, the place I remember doing this the most was at Straw Target Dummies. You do that a lot with assassins, but it's a pretty good place for a lot of the AoE classes. And it's just getting me thinking about some of these skills that I think are gone now. And I'm not sure, I haven't played all of them, but like, I think things like, I don't think the Archer's Bomb Arrow is a thing anymore. Maybe it is. I should really play the classes before I start judging them. But these are just some of the skills that I really remember shining and having fun with. And there's so many skills that they removed that probably could have just been, buffed in different ways. For instance, the Ice Lightning Mage's lightning attack, Chain Lightning, used to be sort of a single hit on monsters around you, whereas now it does kind of like 3 lines of damage. It looks a little bit bulkier, but it's still essentially the same skill. And I don't know why more skills like that didn't get the same treatment, where you just sort of adjust it to make more sense with the damage levels. I mean, that is also kind of a large problem I have, is the damage levels. I mean, you do so much damage to monsters that eventually you're just sort of one-shotting them, and that's when you end up doing the best experience gain, right? Is when you're able to just fully clear the map over and over again, which is cool. It is like, it's fun to be able to be that powerful, but I think that's what pacing really did a good job of in pre-Big Bang, where specific classes were able to map clear at their 4th job, but that was something they worked for and something to define them at 4th job. Whereas right now, as you'll see a little bit further in the video, my Thief's able to clear out a map pretty good just with its level 30 skill, which is pretty incredible for level 30 and for the Thief class. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think on that? Do you think skills have become more similar, or that the classes actually feel different now? Because this is something that I had a lot of a pretty good discussion on the Maplestory Reddit about a little while ago, and I got a fair bit of downvotes. Because the ultimate thing was me talking about a legacy server for Maplestory. It's a very big trend in MMOs right now. We see it with classic WoW. I think Rift had a legacy server. There's a few servers that are coming out that are for legacy, which would mean like a older version of the game that's ran legally by Nexon. You see a lot of private servers that do this, and they're not really supposed to be a thing. So it would be a legit version of that, and I would like that because I dabble around an old school Maplestory from time to time to get my fix. And having a place with a lot bigger population that was actually, funded by Nexon, that could have some updates and actually work a little bit better, would be something that would appeal to me. But long story short, the biggest point I was trying to make is that I thought classes back in the day felt a lot more unique from each other. Whereas now, I think a lot of classes have the AoE mob ability, and that's what you primarily do on it. You just have your one skill that kind of like clears the map, and you're just spamming it, and your movement skills. And because of that, they feel a little bit different. Whereas back in the day, it would be sort of the stats, it would be like different training spots depending on the class you were. It really felt a bit different. And I don't know if I'm in the wrong with that or if I'm in the right with that, but that was my point of contention with the Reddit community. And some people agreed, some people didn't agree. I'd be curious to hear your guys' thoughts. And specifically, if you do think there are classes that are more unique or classes that are more similar, I'd like to hear which ones those are. Because whenever you release this many classes, and let's be honest, that's kind of the primary issue, is that there is so many classes in Maplestory now, it would be very hard for them to be all super different from one another. But what do you guys think of those changes? So anyways, as you saw here, and I sped it up because it was very repetitive, but I was able to grind to 40 super, super quick here. I think the sort of stars that go around and hit random monsters paired with monsters that fly and can come to you really make for a great training spot for the assassin. So I just sort of jumped back and forth and whipped my star out, and I was able to get so much experience. I popped on a 2x experience little coupon thing I had and just went at it. So yeah, guys, I hope you liked this video. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.